Hey, welcome to Cohn and Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Larry Krueger. We usually go Monday afternoon. We're going Tuesday night. Larry Krueger is the busiest man in the business right now. He's in demand, and I appreciate him giving me his time. If you've been following Larry, he's had a very, very good year. And it just goes to show you what the power of having a successful YouTube channel will do for your career. Larry, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Happy holidays and happy new year to the Cones. And you're right. It has been a really fun year. Really fun year. And thank you because you helped me a lot at the beginning. And I just want everybody to know that even though you love playing this kind of, character or whatever on the show, you're not a villainous character. And you actually were really nice to me, helped me get my channel started, showed me some support, gave me ideas, guidance. So I just want to say I appreciate you very much.
My pleasure. I like to think that I could kickstart things, but if you were, dude, it's Larry freaking Krueger, man. I grew up listening to you. Like, You're the truth, and all I needed to do was just show, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you get a YouTube channel. This is what you do. You needed like a half hour of explanation, and now you're doing your own thing. So anyway, I'm very proud of Larry. What we're doing today is we're quality control here. So the Niners are on an 8-game winning streak. They might never lose again, but what we don't do here, we don't give them their flowers too early. We're on them. We're making sure they win the Super Bowl because I want to cover a Super Bowl winning team for the first time in my life. So what we're going to do is focus on things that could potentially trip up the 49ers down the road. So those things don't happen.
Right.
And the first thing that strikes me about this team is, although they're on an 8-game winning streak, the best team they've beaten in terms of record is the freaking Chargers, which is amazing to me. And it's not the Niners' fault. You play who's in front of you, and it's a scheduling quirk. But damn, do you think the Niners are still relatively untested compared to other contenders?
Well, it's funny. I was looking at this just in terms of Purdy, because like where were the defenses rated that he's beaten? And it's like the defenses that are coming, let's just say the big Philly, Dallas, Minnesota, just the top contenders in the NFC, all have lower rated defenses than the defenses he's already beaten. So from that standpoint, I kind of feel like he's not going to face better defenses going forward than the defenses he's already faced. He also won in Seattle. Yeah. I don't know that there's too many worse. I mean, you go on the road, you actually are sitting in these stadiums. I really don't have anything to kind of gauge it on, but it seems like Seattle's a tough place to play. And, not every stadium is. And Philly, I know, is going to be a tough place to play, but I think this kid can handle it. It's just, it's an interesting time for the 49ers right now. That's for sure.
It's interesting in the sense that when the season started, we were like, man, this schedule's brutal. NFC West and the AFC West. Well, it turns out that the NFC West is as bad as any division in football, aside from the Niners. But they're terrible. And the AFC West isn't much better. So really the Niners, I think someone pointed out that they have like the second easiest schedule so far this season. Not their fault. But you look at look at Dallas, for example. Same record as the 49ers. They kicked shit out of Minnesota and recently beat Philly without Jalen Hurts, but they put 40 on them. The Niners don't have a win like that, which isn't their fault. But it makes me feel like I still don't really know who this team is, and that's a weird thing to say entering week freaking 17.
Well, first of all, your starting quarterbacks have the job for 4 games. Really, 3 and change. So that's part of it. And then defensively, the whole identity of this defense, it's all predicated on, do they get it done up front? Their secondary won't be able to stand up to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, in my opinion, if they don't get heat on Hurts or whoever's in there.
And Jamar Chase and Stephon Diggs and all. Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, I'm just focusing on Philly. I think the Niners can run over Dallas. I think they can run right through them. They'll get Elijah Mitchell back. I think there's a good run blocking line. And if you're running well, Brock Purdy can play action pass you to death. So I think they can beat Dallas. It's just about Philly. It's about, to me, it's a lot of the discussion about the Super Bowl is about, can you get it done in Philly? And if we're just going to be super impatient and just go right to the point of the matter, I would say my big question is, can the Niner D-line put enough pressure on Hurts so that he can't, so that Devontae Smith and AJ Brown don't light up their secondary? Because I think
that's the next question. Is
I'm
the
sorry.
biggest
I'm
test in the
jumping
NFC?
ahead.
So don't jump ahead. Whatever you
Okay.
do. Spoiler alert. To me, I feel like the Niners. It's kind of crazy to think that the best team they've beaten is the Chargers minus Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, J.C. Jackson, and Joey Bosa. That doesn't mean the Niners are frauds. I'm not saying that at all. I think they're going to win the NFC, but I think it's amazing that that's a fact. The best team they've beaten is freaking the Chargers. Wow, that's amazing.
Last year, look at that. What about?
In terms
I
of
would
record,
probably say the best team that they've beaten is Miami.
Miami is 8-7. The Chargers are 9-6. Miami is -5 in terms of net points, and I believe the Chargers are -11. So you could argue that, but it does seem like Miami's tanking.
Yeah, well, I will say this, Grant. Chargers defense is coming on, and they're going to get Joey Bosa back. Maybe the first time we got the Harbaugh Bowl. Will we get the Bosa Bowl? Will the Chargers get some late season rampage through the AFC?
I wouldn't expect it.
Be great.
Jorge says, Grant, which AFC team should the Niners hope not to see in the Super Bowl if they make it that far? I'd say the Chiefs, but revenge would be sweet. That's one of our topics today. So, Jorge, bear with us, and we'll dedicate that section to you. But we actually are going to talk about that. I know you don't root for the Niners per se. Per se? No per se. But aren't you rooting for a fairy tale ending as BP becomes King Arthur with trusty Excalibur by his side? I got to say, talking to my dad today and realizing that he's covered 5 championships and I've covered 0, I would like to cover one. And I knew that trying to talk yourself into Jimmy as a champion, to me, that was never going to happen. But with Brock, I can't write it off. So if this happens, it would be an honor and a privilege to cover this team. It is an honor and a privilege to cover this team. Don't you feel that way?
Oh, first of all, yeah. I mean, and it's never boring. It's always interesting. But I'll say this: it's so much it is about the quarterback play when it gets down to the best teams in football, and you have to have highly efficient quarterback play, whatever form that comes. Veteran,
which the Niners have had
guy.
the last 4 weeks.
Right,
highly efficient.
Highly efficient.
Mikey Niner says Grant Cohn is a pussycat. Really, I don't know what that means, but I take it as a slap in the face. No, I'll take it as a compliment.
Take it as a compliment.
Thank you very much. Muhammad says, I know a rookie quarterback hasn't won a Super Bowl, but has a rookie quarterback made it to the Super Bowl as a starter? No, I do not believe so. So This would be great. This would be unprecedented.
And it'd be in his backyard. Wouldn't that be something?
That's true. It feels like destiny. Commanders beat the Eagles. We beat them. We're okay. You could play that game all day, though. The Niners lost to the Denver Broncos. Hard to fathom. Brock will lose to A-Rod in round 1. After that happens, fans will realize how goofy they were, crowning a kid after 3 starts, laughing my ass off. AR is due one against us. This dude
I do fear that. I do fear that.
Yep. It could happen. It could absolutely happen. All right, I got a question for you.
Yes.
I asked you this question 3-4 weeks ago, but things have changed.
Okay.
Name the biggest threat to the 49ers in the NFC.
Biggest threat to the 49ers in the NFC is the Eagles.
Okay.
And there's no doubt in my mind.
They're slipping a little bit recently.
You still got to remember it's going to be there probably, and Hurts
coming back.
Is the Eagles are really good at the line of scrimmage, and the Eagles under Howie Roseman and Lynch, I think Roseman and Lynch are up for executive of the year in my mind against each other. I think these are the 2 best rosters in the NFC for sure.
Fair enough. Let me make a case. I think Dallas is interesting. I know the Niners took care of Dallas last year in the playoffs, but these are different teams. And Dallas just put 40 points on the Eagles. I know they didn't have Jalen Hurts, but he doesn't play defense. They put 40 points on a very good Philadelphia defense. And a few weeks ago, they put 40 points on Minnesota. We were talking just a minute ago about, are the Niners untested? They don't have wins like that. Dallas and the Niners have the same record, and Dallas has 2 wins that the Niners can't match. I'm not saying Dallas is better than the Niners, but they have one hell of a quarterback. And what we've seen against the Niners, the best thing you can do is take shots down the field against their defense. You're not going to beat them dinking and dunking because Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner will shut that down. But if you take shots deep, you might have a chance. And they got Dak, and they got CeeDee Lamb, and they got T.Y. Hilton, who's been on the team for about a week, and he caught a 50-yard pass last week. I'm interested in that matchup. Dallas. Not to mention Micah Parsons and all they got on defense.
Jacksonville ran for 7.1 yards a carry against them.
It's true. It's true. Can I just say that the Niners haven't been exactly dominant as a running game this season? I think they're like middle of the pack in yards per carry. Now, what you'll say is Elijah Mitchell's coming back. That's a good point.
No, I would probably go back to I'd probably go look at the game log for Dak Prescott. I mean, and look at the last 5 games. It's 8 picks. 8 picks in the last 5 games.
Oof.
8.
Well, look,
that's a lot.
Not to. I think the Niners are going to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that the Cowboys or the Vikings or the Eagles are better than the Niners. I'm just trying to look for potential pitfalls here. The name of the show is The Biggest Obstacle Between the Niners and a Super Bowl Victory. And we have to at least account for teams in the NFC. And we talked about Philly. We talked about Dallas. Talked about Minnesota. Minnesota's interesting. They're ahead of the Niners. They are, I believe, minus or I think they're like +5 in point differential. How? They have a terrible defense, but they managed to like win 33-30 a lot. So, interesting team.
They're dead last in defense.
They freaking suck on defense.
But they may have the MVP of the league on their team because I think Jefferson might be he might be the best. He's having one of the greatest years of receivers ever had. He's playing great. And then they smartly got Hawkinson. I don't know why did Detroit trade TJ Hawkinson? I wonder.
I don't understand.
Hawkinson just came off a great game against the G-men. So they've got some guys. But their defense is Eric.
Not to mention Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. But the Niners, the Niners haven't allowed a 60-yard rusher, I believe.
Wow.
Is that right?
Wow. Yeah, I believe it, and I don't think they will. So Philly, Dallas, it doesn't seem like either one. I'm thinking the Niners are the team to beat in the NFC. Saul Goodman says, if Trey Lance ends up a bust, but Brock Purdy is the guy, then what a lucky break for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Brock Purdy will have saved their jobs after they give up so much draft capital for Trey Lance. How many times have we said that? I mean, the Niners have had so many big investments that didn't necessarily work out, but they had this 7th-round pick who bails them out like over and over again. And I guess that's a testament to them.
I mean, I think this is Lynch's masterpiece this last draft, and they didn't even have a number 1. I mean, I think he got a lot of players out of this last draft. I think 3 years from now, we're going to see exactly how many guys they picked up in this offseason that are playing huge roles for them. And Purdy at the top of the list. So, Lynch may get the exec of the year.
He may, and I think he should. But what's crazy about this last draft is that the top pick, Drake Jackson, healthy scratch last week. The next pick, what was it?
Ty Davis
Price, not having a great year. The next pick, Danny Gray, hasn't done a damn thing. And yet, it might be one of the best drafts in franchise history. Quite amazing.
It really is.
Yeah. Tampa beats Cowboys for the 3rd time and beats the Giants. Packers upset us and the Eagles. Aaron versus Tom Menacey title game. Brock is going to feed GBDBs. Man, that's way too many hypotheticals. I couldn't follow you.
What?
Our run game is there when we need it. Luxury for us. I hope so. I wonder, because I feel like the offensive line is the problem with the run game, not the running backs or anything else. Jorge says, Larry, you absolutely called it with Brock Purdy. Yeah, he mother freaking did. I remember you praising him during the preseason and wishing that the team kept him. Bask in the glow. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I will say this. I love how that notion, the whole thing that was supposedly going to make the Niners cut Brock Purdy was because they owed Sudfeld $2 million.
$2 million, right? Yep.
And Jed has been.
How cheap are we thinking the Niners are, right? Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody's talking about how the money they were gonna do it for the money, and it's like I'll give Jed a little credit. That he listens to his football people. Otherwise, he could have complained about the $2 million, right? Because that was a mistake. Absolutely. They made some mistakes. Curtis Robinson was a mistake. Kyle kind of admitted it yesterday that they made a mistake. We're calling him off for the IR. Sometimes you're going to hit, sometimes you're going to miss. It's just the way it is.
All right, Larry, another question for you. Who is the biggest threat to the 49ers in the AFC, which is a stronger conference, straight up?
It's no doubt it's the Chiefs. I mean, come on. Against the Chiefs, Chris Jones looks like Mean Joe Green and like Aaron Donald and Reggie White all built into one. And against the Niners. And against the Niners, Mahomes looks like Montana and Favre mixed together. And Andy Reid looks like Walsh and every great offensive coach. I mean, Reid toyed with the Niners. I mean, let's be honest in that game. I mean, he toyed with them. He said, "Oh, you want to go gadgety, gimmicky, and here's a little McCole Hardman in your grill. Let's see if you can handle it."
DeMeco Ryans is the hot defensive coordinator in the league. Watch this. Oh, Nick Bosa's the defensive player of the year. Watch this. He made those guys look inept. He did.
Yeah.
He really.
I mean, the Chiefs are their daddy until proven otherwise. I mean, they got to get
Andy Reid with 2 weeks to prepare. Ooh, you don't want that. You don't want.
They gotta get. I mean, yeah. At some point, I mean, my vision of the 49ers winning the Super Bowl sees somebody else beating the Chiefs. I don't actually see the 49ers beating the Chiefs. I think I'm just hoping that somebody else will get them because they seem to play bad against other teams. But against Bolton and Gay were just looked like the fastest linebackers of all time in that matchup. And every Chief receiver had about 5 yards of separation, and it was Mahomes playing 7-on-7.
What's interesting about the Chiefs is it seems like they don't match up well, particularly with Cincinnati.
Right.
And so Cincinnati could take out Kansas City, and I feel like the Niners match up extremely well with Cincinnati because – to beat the Niners, you need a quarterback who's very athletic, in my opinion. And, Joe Burrow is really good, but he's a sack waiting to happen. He gets sacked. I mean, he's gotten sacked like 1,000,000 times since he's into the league. So he's not making Nick Bosa miss. And I think when they play the Niners, that's 5-6 sacks just guaranteed. So that's an interesting thing. If the Niners get Cincinnati, I like the Niners in that. But to me, the biggest threat to the Niners in the AFC is Buffalo. And I also agree that Kansas City is a huge threat, but Buffalo has a way better defense than Kansas City. Way better defense. The number 2 defense in the league in terms of points allowed. And the difference is, look, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen in person. And he can we've seen him dissect the Niners multiple times. 3 times. But if the Niners defense has an Achilles heel beyond the secondary, which Josh Allen can exploit, it's also the scrambling quarterback. And he might be the ultimate scrambling quarterback other than Lamar. It might be him because he can actually throw too. So, I don't know. I feel like Josh Allen is a tough matchup for the 49ers. And if they can't keep him in the pocket, he could run for 100 yards and really burn him. So, that's an interesting team. Buffalo.
They're more than interesting. I mean, I think the number one problem the Niners have is when a quarterback breaks contain. Forget scrambles. Just breaks contain, extends the play, and it has a vibe with their receiver. We got
a two-way go. He's a run-pass option.
Well, like McLaurin burned him with ease this last time, and
Dotson.
Diggs is better than McLaurin, and then he's got Isaiah McKenzie, who's also fast, and Gabe Davis, who's damn good as well. So I mean, they got guys, and then Knox is a really athletic tight end for sure. And they've got a pretty good offensive line. So, that's – I guess, my only question with Buffalo is it seems like their red zone, they've got some issues in the red zone. And then I think their front – I mean, I like their front, but it's to me, it's Ed Oliver who you combo block. And then I feel like the Niners could handle the rest of those guys. Shaq Lawson, Daquan Jones used to be in a couple spots, like Carolina, maybe Tampa, Greg Rousseau, the Hurricane. I just think
Von Miller's on IR, right?
What's that?
Von Miller's on IR.
Boogie Basham's been hurt recently. So, I mean, I just think that the Niner, you can combo block Ed Oliver and I think handle their defensive line. So, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Buffalo. Buffalo, to me, Josh Allen is just spectacular. I mean, I can't. He just breaks contain. He's 6'6". Guy's got a gun. He's just super clutch, gamer. I mean, he's just awesome.
He's the one mobile quarterback you don't worry about. It's like when he's running, to me, you're more concerned about the defensive players. When there's a collision, you're like, oh my God, is that defensive back okay? Like I never felt that way about any quarterback ever. He runs over people. I've never seen a quarterback do that. Even Cam, I've never seen a quarterback do that.
I mean, not only that, he just throws these lasers
Yeah.
and he's gutsy. And where was the accuracy issues he had at Wyoming? Where's the accuracy issues he had his rookie year? I mean, the guy's now very accurate. And he also, like, every game I watch with him or with Mahomes, I always feel like they're going to win. I always feel like the entire game, you always feel like, no, but Josh Allen will come back, Mahomes will come back. They're like in their own category right now.
I'm the real Grant Cohn. Thank you for changing your name. Says, when I'm right, we lose. When I'm right and we lose, I better get a bottle. I don't know what that means. Thorax says, chances of BP winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year if he wins out and balls out.
Who else? Who else is up for it?
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. I would say Brock looks pretty good right now compared to Kenny Pickett.
Good point. Matthew says, side note, why the hell
Kenneth Walker the third was pretty good.
Not against the
Niners. I
Niners.
give it to Brock.
Yeah, I think so. Side note, why the hell do we play JM on special teams, nursing a hamstring and run TDP? Just rest JM if so. Shaking my head. The whole Jordan Mason thing this year has been strange to me. I can't quite understand what Kyle's doing there.
Well, okay, so he was an undrafted free agent. Then he's been hurt. He's kind of a young kid. In this game, I think he thought he had a very serious knee injury, and then Kyle said he just got scared, and ultimately it wasn't anything. But he's got a hamstring, right? So he might have aggravated that a little bit. I just think that he's a very young guy. I think he's got a lot of potential, but it's young guys are young. There's a maturation thing that goes along with becoming a professional, and he's still in the process of it. But he's got huge talent and huge power, and that was a great find by the Niner personnel department because that guy looks good.
Matthew says, "Do you think KC would expose Lenore?" I mean, they already did. I mean,
the Lenore is
Washington
getting way better.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, but if you got to go somewhere in the secondary, it's there. Muhammad says, Warner got an ankle injury in the Cowboys game last year. He has been healthy, and Greenlaw has. So do you think they'll pop off more in the playoffs? I didn't know Warner had an ankle injury in that game. I didn't know. But, yeah, I think they'll pop off more in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't say pop off enough, but no, but I'll say this. I think the Niner linebackers are what give the whole team swagger.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a time when, like, 94 Niners, Dion gave the Niners swagger. Yeah. But the Niner linebackers give
Ken Norton Jr. too, though, with he would get up, he would get the pick six, and
that was a good one. But Merton, definitely Merton.
Lee Woodall, Gary Plummer. They had good linebackers in that team.
They did have good linebackers, but these guys have this awesome dominance about them. They're all in their prime and they're all fast and athletic, and there's a brotherhood there. I even think they're backup guys who don't even get on the field. Flanagan Fowles and Marcelino McCrary Ball. These guys can all play too. They're just nowhere.
It's a factory.
No time.
It's a factory. And Demetrius Flanagan Fowles is one of the most productive special teams players in the league right now in terms of
George
stops.
Odom too.
Yep. All right. So the Niners have very few weaknesses, but our job as quality control coaches is to look at the weaknesses and see if we can address them and make them non-weaknesses. And right now, the secondary is looking a little suspect. Talanoa Hufanga getting beat for touchdowns. Diamador Lenore playing pretty conservative, giving up lots of yards. Travarius Ward, a little banged up. What do you think is the biggest issue with the 49ers secondary, and can they fix it?
I really liked the way Gibson played in this last game, and Lenore is getting better every single time I see him. I just feel like he's getting more confident. Hufanga is the guy that worries me because, like, everybody gave him so much love after, he got passed over, right? He went in the 5th round, but then he just got unbelievable love. Now he's going to the Pro Bowl, and he is a special player going forward. But you can make plays on him going backward because he's not. That's why he went in the 5th round. He's not a great coverage player in a league where you got to play coverage. He's really, really good if you're running the ball, and and he's got great timing, anticipation. He'll make plays in coverage, but that's his strength is going forward and closer to the line when his weakness is going backward and double moves and down the field with receivers that have speed. So, I mean, I think that he's just going to have to, they're just gonna have to, he's just gonna have to take fewer chances and know his weaknesses and don't get beaten deep. I mean, he's gotten beaten deep a few times now. So that's my big concern. I love him as a run defender. He's awesome, and if the ball gets tipped in the air, he's coming down with it, and he's a hitter and he's accountable. And I think he will rise to the occasion like he did in Green Bay on that deep ball when Rodgers tested him on the last series. And he rose up. I think he'll rise up. But if you take lots of shots down the field, I think odds are he's going to give some up. That's my concern.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think that's a concern that he's so aggressive and he jumps routes, and it seems like maybe better offenses like Dallas or Philly or Kansas City will look to exploit him. To me, though, there's Lenore. He shouldn't be a starter. They didn't want him to be a starter, and I think what they're asking him to do is like keep everything in front of you. So teams, I mean, you saw Washington. Their attitude was, we got to take as many shots as Lenore as possible. I think other teams are going to do that too. And to me, like, the biggest thing with this secondary is Trevarius Ward. He's really freaking good. He's better than I even realized when they signed him. But when he misses time, when he's less than 100%, the secondary seems to fall apart. He should have been the Pro Bowler, not Talanoa. No offense to Talanoa, but Trevarius Ward is the best player in the secondary. And when he's 100% healthy, they're pretty hard to stop because he doesn't need any help. But when he's less than 100% or when he's in the, injury tent getting checked for nausea, all of a sudden there are big-time openings in the secondary. I think if he stays 100% healthy the rest of the season, the Niners probably will win the Super Bowl, but I think he's very important, Charvarius. He has the ability to shut down people, and if he's not, he's the guy. He's the guy.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I mean, you're right. He should have been in the Pro Bowl. He's been a difference maker all year. He's been taking on everybody's number one wide receiver and shutting them down. He's physical. He tackles well.
Yeah.
But it's it's a highlight world we're in, and Hafanga's got all those picks, and that's probably what caught people's attention. But I will say this. They're young back there. That's the thing. Lenore's young, and Ambry Thomas is young, and Womack's even younger. So they brought in Janoris Jenkins, the Jackrabbit, and we'll see. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, if the draft were today, what do they need? They need a corner.
Janoris Jenkins. To me, I'd be more comfortable with them bringing back Richard Sherman or freaking Josh Norman. No offense, Janoris, but like, dude, you're my age. Well,
he's been around. He's been around for sure. But I mean, that's where this is the problem, though. When you run out of corners, and it's just like there's nowhere to get them. So what they got is what they got, and hopefully their DB coaches, because they got a couple of them, can coach those guys up and get them ready to go. And again, hopefully they get a lot of rush up front. That's really
right. But I think what teams are learning is for a while, I think teams looked at Kansas City and they're like, okay, Kansas City, they threw screens, they ran jet sweeps. Let's try that. Yeah, good freaking luck. If you're not Kansas City, what you're gonna do if you try to dink and dunk your way to a victory against the Niners, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner will kill you. You're not gonna win. And I think Washington's approach was the right approach. Take shots. They ended up with 20 points. That's better than a lot of teams have done against the 49ers. The problem was they couldn't defend a damn thing. Take shots. Do your best you can because you just might even get a pass interference penalty, but there are opportunities down the field if you can get it there. I don't know how many teams can do it.
Yeah. So that's the primary defensive concern is the secondary and the deep ball.
Yep. Tinker says 38 is key. You think he's been playing better, so that's important.
I do. I liked what I've seen, and I talked to him after the game. To me, corners you don't just watch them; you got to talk to them because you got to figure out how confident they are, and he's confident.
Yeah.
So that's a great sign because it's December; it's almost January, and when you're a confident young guy in January, that's a good spot to be in.
Muhammad says, "Will they show more reckless abandonment?" I mean. Who? I forgot your last comment. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Oh no. Here it was. Warner got an ankle injury in the Cowboys game last year. He's been healthy, and Greenlaw has. So do you think they'll pop off more? Yeah, I think, dude. Do you feel like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are holding back this year? I don't. I got Mahomes, Burrow, and then Allen. Ooh, I'll take Allen over Burrow. To me,
I will too.
I will too. I like Mahomes. May be the best quarterback I've ever seen. It's amazing how good he is.
No, I'll take Allen over Mahomes. But
Okay.
you see, the thing with Mahomes,
I haven't seen him in person yet.
But the thing with Mahomes is you get Mahomes and Reed.
Yep.
And that's where Mahomes gets crazy good.
Not to mention Kelsey. Damn, Kelsey is so damn good. He's amazing.
I think Reed is the difference maker, though, man. He's really special.
Joshua Wyatt says, can we put both the Wards in bubble wrap for the next 2 games? The Niners can't replace either of those guys for even a game. That's such a good point. Such a good point.
Get a lead, get him off the field.
Get him off the damn field. Debuda says, so far, who would start next year, Brock or Trey? I mean, come on, man. I think we all know that what Brock's doing is unprecedented. He's having the best rookie debut ever. So,
well, here's the big one. I think Brock is making the short and intermediate throws with such relative ease, and Trey struggles with those throws, and that's where it starts.
He needs to improve on his timing. He needs to improve on his timing big time this offseason. Yeah.
Trey. He probably needs to play. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to get into that at some point, but Trey needs to play.
They got to send him to fall league. They got to send him to fall league. Can they do that? Can the Giant? Yeah. Who is your guys' comp for Brock?
Put him in the USFL.
Who's your guys' comp for Brock? Joe Montana?
No. He reminds me. I'll tell you who he reminds me of. Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Russell Wilson. Why? Because even though you look at him and you don't think, oh, we can't sack that guy.
Yeah.
When you watch him, they have this like escapability.
Yeah.
And Brock's got that really fast, he got a 1.55 10-yard split, and he plays to it on the field. And that's where he's getting away constantly. So yeah, I would say Russell.
What do you think Russell Wilson's 10-yard split was?
I don't know, but 1.55 is.
It was
really
1.55. It was
1.55.
Yeah, it was 1.55.
Yeah,
I just looked it up. Very good. Tinker says number 38. We got you. Grant, the condescending YouTuber, says Brock Purdy is garbage juice. 5-0 start, just like Jimmy. But I'm condescending. All right, moving on. So Larry is that guy who can see the potential in late round picks and undrafted free agents, where you and I might write these guys off and scoff and say, nothing to see here. Larry sees through it. And the next one that may be that guy is Kalia Davis, defensive tackle from UCF. He's practicing now. He was on NFI all year. Don't know if he's going to play this year, but he has a future with the team. What do you think he can add to the Niners, Kalia Davis?
He could be the final piece of the puzzle because he's so fast, and he's 295 pounds, and he's relatively fresh and healthy, and he's an interior pass rusher, and the whole game has become about rushing the passer. So all the pass rushers you can get, sign them, get them. And it doesn't matter. I mean, the Niners this year, Jordan Willis balling, Menahue balling. They got all kinds of guys going after the passer. But if they could add another fresh 290-pound interior rusher with unbelievable foot speed, that would be great. Kinlaw showed me in this last game what he could be in that goal line play where he basically just took on 2 blockers who comboed him and left Fred Warner just totally free to stick the running back. That was Kinlaw. You want to say, what can Kinlaw do? That's what Kinlaw can do. What this guy can do is play next to Kinlaw or come in for Kinlaw on third down, probably more importantly.
It's an ideal platoon, isn't it?
Quarterback.
It's an ideal platoon. And what's funny
is
when people
second down Kinlaw, it's third down Kalia Davis, and he's insurance against Givens, but he's even faster than Givens. And he's bigger. He's bigger and faster than Givens.
When they drafted Kalia, it was interesting. Everyone compared him to DJ Jones, but it seems like he's more of a pass rusher than DJ Jones.
Right. And he's like a one-gap penetrator, get up the field, but he's really fast. And then I watched him at practice, and I'm like, my God, this guy is unbelievably fast. So I don't know what their plan is. I don't even know the rules on it. NFI, what does that mean? Can he? I don't even. Can they call him up? Can they?
Yep.
What's
That means absolutely they can call him up. He's not on IR. They can call him up at any time.
so it's his own category.
Kalia Davis reminds because his injury happened in college, not in college, but before he was on the team. Kalia Davis reminds me of a more athletic Vita Vea. Hold on.
Vita Vea is bigger, way bigger.
Hold on, like Vita Vea is like the most athletic player of his size ever. So just chill. Keith Murphy says Allen 2 more picks has been playing bad second half of the season while Burrow was surging to a 7-game win streak. I don't think Allen has ever been better than Burrow, even going back to college. Fair.
Well, no, Burrow was definitely better in college. We know that.
Look, I saw Burrow against the Niners. Burrow's really good, but if you can't move, you're gonna have a tough time against Nick Bosa. And how many times did the Niners sack Burrow last year? I think it was 5. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong. Keith Murphy, I love you. Impur says, what does 1-5-5 10-yard split means? It means in the 40-yard dash, he ran the first 10 yards in 1.55 seconds, which is very fast. It means that he may not have long speed, but he has quickness, is what it means.
Yeah,
Quickness. Explosion. All right, so Kyle Shanahan, the Niners have one more player they can pull off of IR. It's not going to be Trey Lance. From what Kyle Shanahan said, it's going to be Elijah Mitchell, who is one hell of a running back. What do you think the return of Elijah Mitchell would mean to the 49ers in the playoffs?
Enormous amounts. I mean, he's I don't want to say he's vital, but he is incredibly valuable. Why? Because he's got instincts. He can pick and slide. He doesn't fumble, knock on wood. But you know,
he never fumbled in the NFL or college. That's
right.
How long it's been since he fumbled. Yep.
And when he's fresh, and right now he's relatively fresh, he actually kind of plays to the 4.3 speed. When he's been beat up over the course of the year, if he had played the whole year, there'd be no chance he would play to that speed. But now he might play to that speed, and he's got great instincts. And really, what he's great at is that if the thing's, I guess Kyle talks about it. If it's blocked for 2, he gets 3. If it's blocked for 3, he gets 4. If it's blocked for 5, he gets 8. I mean, he just always gets more out of it. He always twists and turns and falls forward. So he's an awesome short yardage runner. He's an awesome goal line runner, even the fact that he doesn't have a lot of power. He's just got natural instincts. And he also, McCaffrey, you know, he can finish games. Like McCaffrey gets you the first half lead, and you can ice games with this guy. So, yeah, I think he's your finisher closer back in the fourth quarter. And just, you know, they're desperate to get a stop, and you're desperate to get a first down. And he makes that extra effort and gets the first down and ices the game. That's the back that he is. I think he's hugely valuable.
Yeah. To me, what's interesting about the Niners is they are not a great running team this year. Like, they're middle of the pack in yards per carry. But defenses still approach them like they're a dominant running team. And so they're play-actioning teams to death. And Christian McCaffrey helps that. But, like, once they get that lead, which they'll get in the playoffs, you need Elijah Mitchell to put the game away. Jordan Mason can do it too. But it's nice to have both of them. And Elijah Mitchell's averaging a 5.6 yards per carry this year. So when you're up 10 in the second half, and you're trying not to, like, blow it again, Kyle Shanahan, you got Elijah Mitchell right there. And then you got Jordan Mason too. So it seems like the Niners are built to actually seal the deal this year for the first time in Kyle Shanahan's tenure, which is nice.
You just got to call the runs. You just got to call the plays, you know, and I think Kyle feels really, you know, what's other really interesting thing is I think he's really comfortable with his backs, but I think he's also really comfortable with his quarterback. He doesn't want to overstate it because he doesn't want to disrupt anybody or insult anybody or hurt anybody's value, or he doesn't want to do anything. He'd prefer not to talk about it. But if you talk to him privately, I guarantee you he would tell you that Brock Purdy is, you know, been this revelation, but he's going to downplay it publicly.
Impur says, my tax guy said I have to do a 1099-U because of Super Chat. It's funny. All right, last topic. Yes. So, look, the Niners are rolling. 8 in a row. Best defense in the league, and now the offense is right there with it, like 30 points plus routinely because of Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. But what's funny about the Niners is they still got Kyle's baggage. Like this is long. This is a long time in the making for him. He had an even better offense in Atlanta and smoked it. He had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter 3 years ago against Kansas City and smoked it. He had a 10-point lead last year. So to me, Kyle has some emotional, mental demons that the Niners have to overcome. And he has to do something different this year to cross the finish line as the champion. What do you think that difference is that the Niners need from Kyle?
Well, I mean, he needs, like, I think he kind of referenced it the other last week when he said, Brock Purdy allows me to call the game the way it needs to be called, or
there you go.
Like I forget the exact quote, Grant, but it was like something like he plays the way, he plays it. I don't forget exactly what he said, but he
essentially said he allows me to call the game the way I want to call it, not the way I need to call it for his limitations, right?
Right. Like this is the only quarterback I've had that has no limitations.
Yes.
Like that's what he was saying.
Yes.
It comes across as a compliment to him, but it also comes across as a brutal truth on the other guys. So it's a very interesting comment. I think Kyle Shanahan is a truth teller at his core, and he lets little bits of truth come out, even if they're hard to hear for some people.
Yeah.
So I think he was being truthful there. I think he really has a lot of confidence in Brock, because I think the ball comes out on time, and he's always talking about how Brock does a good job taking care of the football. Now he's had some easy picks that were dropped, and he's had some lucky breaks for sure. But he also, I'll tell you the one thing with Purdy that's interesting is that I can see Shanahan liking is that when Shanahan calls his play action game with Purdy under center, and he turns his back on the defense, and then sometimes he turns back around, and even if he's being pressured right there in his face, he can still at the same time elude the rush with quickness. But then it's uncanny how quickly he's on his receiver's route. Like he's like throwing it as he's getting open. He knows where the route is. Where Jimmy, if he got away from the defender at all, would then have to kind of relook at the field and see where all the receivers were and then throw it. This guy, Brock, can literally do the escape and throw and release to the receiver, in one motion. I think Shanahan sees that, and it opens up so much.
Yeah. To me, like what held the Niners back 3 years ago, that was a great team they had in 2019. And Kyle still says it was the best team in the league. But what happened was Jimmy Garoppolo was playing well in the regular season. He made big throws down the field to win games that they had to win. And then all of a sudden they got in their first game against Minnesota, and Jimmy threw a couple of questionable passes, and Kyle shut him down for 2 games to the point where he practically embarrassed him in the NFC Championship game, calling 8 passes. And then they go to the Super Bowl, and they're like, hey, Jimmy, we need you to make this throw to win the game. Like, nah, man, you just castrated this man for 2 straight – sorry, but that's what you did. You castrated him for 2 straight weeks, and then you say, hey, man, hit this throw. That's not going to happen. Can't do that. You got to trust Brock. You never trusted Jimmy, and Jimmy played like you didn't trust him. Empower Brock. One of the great things that Andy Reid does for Patrick Mahomes, he's always trusted Patrick Mahomes. And one of the nice things about Brock and Kyle right now is it seems like Brock is bringing out the best in Kyle Shanahan. I always felt like Jimmy brought out the worst in him, brought out his conservative nature, brought out this run-first weird person that was not coaching in Atlanta. When the Niners hired Kyle, they didn't think they were getting this run-first conservative coach, but that's what he became because of Jimmy. Now that Brock's here, all of a sudden it feels like Atlanta all over again. Keep it going, Kyle. Don't all of a sudden lose your trust and your nerve because he's a rookie or because it's high stakes, because so far you're the one that blinks. Don't blink. Trust your guys. If you trust Brock, you just might pull it off. Also, run the damn ball with a freaking lead in the fourth quarter, Kyle.
I'll tell you, the thing that I'm most excited about with Brock is that he has unlocked Kittle as a receiver. I mean, I've never seen Kittle look this good. Kittle can be Kelsey, but you got to have a quarterback who can throw with accuracy down the seams. And this guy, and that's lofted over the linebacker in front of the safety and throw that pass with accuracy, and you got to see it, and you got to lead the guy. I mean, Kittle's never looked better. I mean, I know Kittle loves Jimmy and
I agree.
this and that, but I mean,
I agree.
if Kittle knows what's best for him, he should love Brock because Brock is what's best for him.
Doesn't it almost feel like Kittle was doing all this I love Jimmy stuff to like butter up the starting quarterback to get the ball? But now that Brock's the quarterback and feeding him the ball, it's like, man, maybe you should just jump on the Brock bandwagon because he's going to get you paid again. He's going to get you your third contract, George.
You ought to call Brock. Kittle ought to call Brock renovation because
Hell yeah.
he'll be doing renovations on his home, adding another floor because of Brock.
Brock just gentrified George Kittle's entire career.
George is going to be trading in those sunglasses for what's a nice pair of sunglasses. He's selling the cheap ones.
Some Ray-Bans.
Yeah, seriously, it might be time to step it up.
That's right. Haha says, Grant, it's time to let Jimmy Ward. It's time to let Jimmy Ward. He has done enough to come back on the show and talk his ish. All right, I'm going to hit him up this week.
I think he meant get Jimmy Ward.
All right, I'll talk to him. I'm going to let him know. It's time. Hey, Grant, big fan here. Do you guys truly believe Philly, Dallas, Vikings can beat this defense when fully healthy and all pieces moving correctly? If I had to pick a team to go to the NFC, to go to the Super Bowl or the NFC, I'd pick the Niners right now. So we're just trying to be quality control here. But no, I think we both picked the Niners to win the Super Bowl this year.
Philly is the one hurdle, and it's going to be about, can the Niner pass rush get to Hurts and bother Hurts enough behind a really good line?
Nicholas John Bosa is minus 1,100 to win DPOY BT dub. He's going to win that award. He could win the freaking MVP. You could argue, but he won't. But he could. But he won't.
He's great. He's great against the run too.
JT3 says, how does Brock compare to Matt Ryan in his prime? What made Matt and Kyle's collaboration so effective? Thank you for the great Niners coverage. Well, he's smaller than Matt Ryan, but he's more mobile than Matt Ryan. And I think what made Matt Ryan and Kyle such a great combination was Matt Ryan was very good that second season on play action. He really could get the ball down the field to Julio. Also, Julio Jones was nice. He's very helpful. He's a hell of a player in his prime. Julio, check him out.
I think the key was awesome weapons all in their prime at the same time. That's what they had.
Phoenix Music says Kyle needs to whip up more pass plays to Juice now that someone can hit him up because he's always open. They pay that dude a lot of money to never give him the damn ball. I agree with that. Thank you, Phoenix. Ruben R. Martinez, appreciate you. Tinker, I know Kyle should know by now, and I think it's time. Hey, about number 38. You're focused on Diamador. Or maybe he's a big Deshaun Goldson fan. I don't know. Kalia Davis is a future Pro Bowler. If Larry says it's so, it will be so. Clairvoyant. That's how I feel. I don't really mess with Larry anymore. He's the big winner this year. And people that thought he was tripping were tripping. David Velez says, I've always said that to win the Super Bowl, you need a quarterback who can stand and deliver the deep ball outside the numbers, make him defend every blade of grass. Well, so far, so good with Big Brock. So far, so good. Anyway, that's the show. The whole
Brock's birthday today. He's 23.
Happy birthday, Brock. RWJ all day says all this slander towards Trey is ridiculous. People are really talking about trading him. This microwave instant gratification culture these days is weird. And my Eric Crocker voice. I do think
that. Yeah, go ahead. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's great that Brock is having early success, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And just because Trey Lance has had some, adversity his first 2 years, it doesn't mean he's a bust. What I think you really are. You probably shouldn't make big declarations about a quarterback before he's started 25 games. It's a great story. I'm not saying, pump the brakes on Brock, but
no, I hear
you. You might want to just not make big declarations about quarterbacks until you've seen 25 starts. Like, you might have said some stupid shit about Justin Fields a year ago if you hadn't waited. Or I think it's fair to say that Zach Wilson's probably – yeah, exactly. Like Troy
People are doing it right now with Zach Wilson, I believe. But whatever.
Fair enough. That's a good point. What I want to say is, how many other quarterbacks in the league could do what Brock Purdy's doing on this team? And is Zach Wilson one of them? And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. But I wonder if Zach Wilson gets cut, will the Niners sign him for nothing? It might be worth it.
If he gets cut, and there's no chance he's getting cut, he's okay. There has to be traded, right? Cut.
He's expensive, but yes.
Oh my God! I'd be shocked if he was cut. Shocked.
Yeah. What did you guys do for your 23rd birthday? What did you guys do for what did I do for my 23rd birthday?
23rd birthday.
I think I remember. I went to Vegas with my wife, who's upstairs. I was 23. She was 21. We had no freaking money, and we did nothing. We went to Vegas. We're like, do you want to gamble? No. Do you want to go to a show? Can't afford it. We just walked around, inhaled secondhand smoke. It was a great time. That's what we did.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably, it was, my birthday's January, so I probably.
Me too. When's your
January
birthday?
12th.
No fucking way.
What's yours?
13th.
Yeah.
How about that?
January 12th.
Capricorns. Let's go.
There we go.
Nice.
January 12th. Yeah.
1960 what? 1960 what?
1970.
1970. 1970. All right. My bad.
January 12th, 1970.
All right. Okay.
So
all right.
I think I was probably,
So you were a senior in high school when I was born.
88.
Senior in high school.
88.
You were class of 88 from St.
Class
SI.
88. Yep.
I went to O'Dowd, and the president of O'Dowd came from SI. So it's like SI East now.
Well, believe me, I've been to many games. I can honestly say that I've seen almost all of O'Dowd's greatest players. I saw Brian Shaw, and before that, there was this guy named Tony Jackson who played for Ray Meyer at DePaul, who was probably one of the best players that ever came out of the Bay Area. And now I believe he's an Oakland fireman, something like that. So Tony Jackson, if you know your O'Dowd.
I don't. You know better than me. Bros on a Mission says any scenario where Tom Brady still comes to SF. Hey, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what happens in the playoffs. Because there's always a scenario where Brock Purdy goes out and pulls a Brian Hoyer and throws 5 picks in one game, although I wouldn't bank on it. But shit happens. So wait on it.
Here's the thing. We're talking about the trading of Trey and this and that. People assume that the only reason you would ever trade a player is because you thought he was a bust. What if you just think Brock is better and that Trey could be great, but he can't develop in your system, or you don't want to invest that time?
It's fair. And he's due like $8 or $9 million. So he's not exactly a cheap backup quarterback. It's true.
Right. I mean, the question I would have is the guy who I think makes the Niners next level in this next draft is the Notre Dame tight end, Michael Mayer. Okay. And what if you could trade Trey Lance and get a pick where you wound up getting the 18th or 19th pick in the first round, and now you've got this incredible bevy of weapons? How do you go win?
You still need a backup quarterback. I think you need 2 quarterbacks on a team now.
You do,
especially on this team.
You don't have to have a backup quarterback that's as valuable as Trey Lance.
He doesn't need to be expensive or valuable, but you need a backup quarterback. You need to replace him.
You do. But I mean, that could be Jimmy. That could be Brady. Not as a backup.
Jimmy can go. It could be Gardner Minshew. Jimmy could go. I was in Lenore, NC. I didn't know there was a Lenore, NC. I feel like if Ken Dorsey gets a head coach job, he will want to trade with the Niners for Trey Lance and develop a guy like Allen. Cam are good products. Maybe. Although I'm not sure he's going to get the head coaching job. It seems like NFL teams might be pumping the brakes on really inexperienced head coaching candidates because they don't want the next Nathaniel Hackett. I'm just saying. You look at dude in Jacksonville, Doug Peterson, looking like he's doing a pretty good job, maybe because he's experienced. That might actually hold back DeMeco. Not anything DeMeco's doing right now, but the fact that other young coaches who were hired quickly have failed might work against DeMeco, even if he's ready. So I'm just something to point out.
Yeah,
he might come back.
He's so high on that list right now.
He's damn good.
I think he's going to get a gig.
He's damn good. Your B-Day is 13. Purdy is 13. It's meant to be. Thank you. Anub says, I have Super Bowl fever already. Is that wrong? For Kyle to get over the hump, he has to stay aggressive, run pass for the entire game. He has to trust Brock. He did not trust. He did not trust freaking Jimmy 3 years ago. And you
stay
can't
aggressive.
win a Super Bowl that way. Stay aggressive.
Stay aggressive. Anoop.
Be aggressive. B-E aggressive. A-G. Wait. B-E-A-G-G-R-E-S-S-I-V-E. Boom. Thanks for watching the show. It's over. We had a great time. Larry Krueger. Make sure you subscribe to Larry's channel, The Krug Show. He's doing a great job. And yeah, make sure you follow me because I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night, and I'll be back tomorrow.